My name's Rebecca Thomas. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Mint Asset Management. I grew up with two entrepreneurs in my family. My mother had a business before she married my father and had children. And after my father finished with national service, he ended up starting his own business. So I had two entrepreneurs. That definitely coloured my view on money, the importance of money, the role of money in that family structure. So certainly learnt what it took and the sacrifices that had to be made in order to keep a business running in good times and in bad. And my parents were never ever shy about talking about money to us. I think that's an incredibly good lesson because we don't talk about money enough. It's a bit of a taboo subject, but I definitely got a good understanding when things were going well and things were going badly in my parents' businesses. They were very transparent about that. And I also learned about the trade-offs, the sacrifices they made. So, you know, we'd have friends who were going on great holidays. We wouldn't tend to do that. We would tend to visit friends and relatives, but not have flashy holidays. And their focus for their free cash flow was our education. So we all went into private education at the age of 11, and my parents' focus for their businesses was maintaining an income stream to allow that to happen. So gave me a good understanding of the value of money. My relationship with money now is good, but my relationship with money, to be frank, has always been good. I had a long period of time before I got married and had children where I was working and had a very good salary relative to my expenditure. So I started saving very early, in 22 onwards in my life, and it's been a very good experience for me, understanding you know, the value of using debt and the value of saving. So I'd say it was have a good relationship now, and I'm now entering a new phase in terms of, in my 60s, I'm looking at passive income and very different to PAYE. The main experience is starting investing early as possible. I mean, we all know we can't make up for, it's very hard in capital terms to make up for the lost years that we don't save. So I learnt really how to deal with deferred gratification, which is a very, very hard thing behaviourally for people to learn. We all naturally want things now. The trade-offs between saving and having something better down the line is very, very hard to do, but certainly the benefits of starting investing and saving at 22 really came into their own, and they certainly shaped my experience with money by the time I got to my 30s or 40s, because I got myself established pretty early on in life, which was, you know, very fortuitous. I think the advice I really learned was understanding leverage. So I learned how to understand how to use debt in order to create longer term assets. And I've never been fearful of using debt. So I'm not a typical Kiwi. I never looked to pay off my mortgage. I've used debt for my entire life and had a trade-off between having and using debt against assets to build up asset value, and obviously saving as well along the way. So that's one of the observations I'd make about how I'm probably a bit different to the average Kiwi. So I've always been a saver, but I've been saving in the form of investments. So I've had a whole range of investments during my life, from term deposits, which were a very low risk form of investments, right through to venture capital and angel investing that I do now. So I've run really the full spectrum of risk profiles of investing, and I've been pretty good on my asset allocation between having a small number of high risk investments and a much bigger level of lower or medium risk investments. So I think that's really coloured my view on the benefits of diversification, not putting all your eggs in one basket and having a variety of different investments, but not putting it all on red and having all the high risk investments where, you know, I do now have the luxury of being able to invest in startups, but, you know, those sort of things have very high failure rates. So that's really coloured my story, the different types of assets I've had over time. I think being a homeowner in my 20s, which is incredibly difficult for people to do now without parental support and without people being in that lucky position. But certainly for me, going on that home owning journey and doing that early gave me a real sense of security, and the fact that I was earning good money but I wasn't spending it all, and I was actually thinking about the long term and the benefits of that dollar cost averaging over time in terms of putting regular amounts of money away. So I'm proud of that, but I'm also proud of the way that I've used leverage and debt in order to create a higher asset value over time. I think I've used debt very responsibly, so I'm pretty proud of that. I think I'd probably be a little less harsh on myself than I was when I was younger, and recognise that there are times for spending and times for saving, and you really have to go with the flow on that. So yes, it's great to be an early saver and start on your journey, but there will be periods where you just can't afford to do that, and it's time for you to invest in the form of a home, or take time for yourself, whether that's travel, going overseas, or something that actually makes your heart sing. It's quite important that you let yourself off the hook and you recognise it's a very, very long journey. It's a bit like dieting. 80% of the time, if you do the right thing, you'll be in a good place. So I think I teach myself to be a little less harsh on myself than I was. So I'm in my 60s now, and that asset base that I put down, over the last sort of 40 years has, matured nicely, and that puts me in a position for a comfortable retirement. So I'm very focused now on switching from capital growth, which has always really been my driver, to actually looking at passive income and ways that I can generate a reasonable income to sustain a decent lifestyle and do the things I want to do, without being on PAYE, which has been, my main way of developing my savings over the years.